Dear viewers, welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. prime time newscast on Équinoxe Television, live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Badle Chona, telling our top stories in this edition of the news. One person has died and several others injured in a landslide at Sisia quarters on the hills on the foot of the upstation hills in the northwest regional chief town, Bamenda. We'll bring into you updates with our correspondents in the town of Bamenda in this edition of the news. We are 1 year, exactly 1 year down memory lane after the major national dialogue which took place in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, from the 30th of September to the 4th of October 2019. Where are we with solutions to the Anglophone crisis? We're going to try to answer this question in this edition of the news. Once more, thank you for joining us on this edition of the news. We begin right away in the northwest regional chief town, Bamenda, where landslide has killed one person and left several others injured. The landslide occurred on the foot of the upstation hills. Stella reports from Bamenda.
Before 7 p.m. September 29, 2020, 8-year-old Njong Blanche was full of life. She played with her friends in Sisia, a neighborhood in Bamenda 3 subdivision. The slow destabilization of last night claims her life. Many are still in shock.
Yesterday around 4 o'clock, the ground started to drop off for back kitchen small. The ground we live for back household is stay for the never ever shake. So now for back kitchen only they ever drop small now with the carrier. Where kitchen they far from the house. So we the drop now, and then we check and say now only that one now will drop one scene and that one for back I'll just cut on the camera. So they inside house we know the day. I don't know who to begin there, one come with do room block. So I don't just confuse, I never know whether I'm empty on outside. So struggle now, neighbor don't come out, shower, they people don't come struggle now. Move me and my woman with 2 boys them and then now my first begin die when I get.
At the Sisia neighborhood, at least 100 households are at risk. The steep slopes had been declared unfit for human settlement. A slum upgrading program, an initiative of UN Habitat in partnership with the European Union Commission, with aims to reduce the population living in slum areas, is yet to yield fruits. More people are constructing on the slope, putting their lives on the line.
My fear is that this father came and built his own house beside our own. So he's making it, water is coming down from his own house and soaking the ground. I'm afraid that he can collapse and disgust our own house.
Oh, you come over the street now, so God no leave me away. You should over inside house. Ground will kill. So which one better?
We no send a risk, but na poor bati the carry we go for big house for this kind of place. Me government check how we country go turn a fine way man fi be for fine play. Man not the be for risk land I say like the condition the maker.
The senior divisional officer for Meza, Mo Emi Simon, Bamenda City's mayor Paula Chombong, and the mayor of Bamenda 3, Cletus Fongu, visited the area as neighbors helped to recover whatever they could from the rubble. They were given 24 hours to quit the neighborhood or face eviction.
This area has been tagged a risk zone. And the question whether where the people are moving to or whether they are not moving shouldn't be apparent at this moment. Because the only other option place for them to move to is the grave. So they either choose to move out of here or stay and move to the grave. And we as the government and the people in authority in charge, we don't want anybody to move to the grave. So we're giving them a free hand within the next 24 hours to move somewhere else.
There are evidence of more landslides if nothing is done and done fast. Yesterday was Blanche. Who is next?
Mustela reporting there from the Northwest Regional Chief Town, Bamenda, and of course this is not the first time that a landslide is occurring in that neighborhood qualified as a risk zone. It is at the foot of the upstation hills in the Northwest Regional capital, Bamenda, and 1 year after the major national dialogue which took place in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, from the 30th of September to the 4th of October 2019, with the aim of finding solutions to the Anglophone crisis, restoring peace and normalcy in the crisis-hit Northwest and Southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province say the objectives of that meeting has not been attained. Among other things, stated in a declaration, they are demanding the release of all persons arrested and detained in connection to the Anglophone crisis. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
In a joint statement at the end of the 69th meeting of the Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference, BAPEC, Catholic bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province called for the release of all Anglophone political prisoners and an immediate ceasefire in the war in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. The men of God in their release say they believe that the release of Anglophone political prisoners will go a long way to pacify the fighters on the ground and also get the released prisoners to act as agents for the attainment of justice and peace in their communities. They believe that the release of these prisoners will also facilitate an effective ceasefire, which more than ever before is highly necessary to stop the continuous killings in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. The prelates also reiterated their August 2019 message appealing for the resumption of schools in the Anglophone regions. The men of God say parents should send their kids to school for the 2020-2021 school year so that their future can be guaranteed in a competitive world of academic and technological accomplishments. End of quote. In a message coming few days to the first anniversary of the major national dialogue in Cameroon, the heads of the Roman Catholic Church in the Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon called for the continuation of dialogue. Under section 2 of point number 7, the Anglophone bishops say dialogue is not enough if it has not achieved its purpose, and in the case of the Anglophone crisis, dialogue must continue until justice and peace is attained. The bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province also expressed their complete solidarity with the apostolic administrator of the Buea Diocese who has been besieged by administrative controversies. The call of the Anglophone bishops in Cameroon comes 4 days before the representative of Cameroon's President Paul Biya addressed the world at the United Nations General Assembly. The Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province consists of the Archdiocese of Bamenda, the Diocese of Kumba, Buea, Mamfe and Kumbu, all in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon.
Cameroon's Minister of External Relations, Lejeune Mbela, representing the head of state, Paul Biya, the 75th United Nations General Assembly, told the international community that the situation in the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country is under control. And he was speaking on behalf of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, also indicating that the government continues its relentless fight against Boko Haram in the far north region of the country. Details with Équinoxe.
Une crise sociopolitique dans nos régions du Nord-Ouest.
Representing Cameroon's President Paul Biya as the 75th United Nations General Assembly, Tuesday, September 29, 2020, External Relations Minister Lejeune Mbela seized the occasion to assure world leaders that the security situation in Cameroon's two English-speaking regions is under total control. He says the government has taken fruitful measures to end the Anglophone crisis thanks to the major national dialogue that gave birth to a special status and adoption of a decentralization code. He said with certainty that the crisis is short-lived, though insecurity prevails in the northwest and southwest regions, with clashes between separatist fighters and the state army, resulting to loss of lives on both sides. Also that there are more unscrupulous and brutal assassinations, like the case of the 35-year-old woman in Moyoka southwest region after torture by separatists. Minister Lejeune Belambela also stressed on government's relentless efforts in protecting lives of civilians in the far north region by combating the terrorist sect Boko Haram. He as well reassured the international community that respect for human rights and freedoms is a reality in Cameroon. He ignored the serious attacks inflicted September 22, 2020 on peaceful opposition protesters, as well as their arbitrary arrest and detention. Elsewhere, Philippe Ochen Ozida, Deputy Permanent Representative of Uganda, said through deliberate and targeted actions, his country has been able to contain the spread of COVID-19, with the government prioritizing sustainable recovery from the pandemic in its national plan. While calling for a global ceasefire during the pandemic, Ozida also highlighted the need to combat climate change, urging effective and bold multilateral actions by all. He also noted his country is committed to implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, with a particular goal to eradicate poverty in all forms and dimensions during the pandemic period. On his part, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa said the African continent's response to the coronavirus has been swift and effective. Africa, he says, has a continental strategy to fight the pandemic, being driven by the regional economic communities. With hope, the pandemic will inevitably set back Africa's developmental aspirations.
Few days to school resumption in Cameroon, the academic future of many children in the northwest and southwest regions of the country remain uncertain. Several schools are still closed and many are still in a deplorable state. It is not known whether some of the schools will be open, whether some of the children will be able to go to school next academic year, October 5th, 2020, and Catholic authorities are now enhancing efforts to ensure that children, notably the vulnerable ones today known as internally displaced persons, have access to education, and they are also urging the population to put hands on deck to ensure that the children are not deprived of the right to education. Davidson Maimo reports from Limbe.
With a very tense atmosphere within the northwest and southwest region, coupled with the economic hardship caused by the ongoing Anglophone conflict that has been running for close to 4 years, calls from government officials, politicians, civil society organizations, the church, individuals, and even some separatists continues to multiply for parents to send their children to school and a hitch-free reopening of the 2020-2021 school year in the northwest and southwest region respectively. It is in this light that the head of all Catholic schools in Buea Diocese, Bishop Bibi, was in Limbe to officially open the new Catholic secondary school in Garden. The bishop said to meet up with the hardship parents are facing caused by the ongoing Anglophone conflict, a special support fund to assist vulnerable children go to school has been created by the diocese.
It has been my intention, because of the presence of internally displaced persons, importance of having what we call the Bishop's Education Fund.
Among those who have responded positively to the call of the bishop is Chief Albert Ndive of Sase Village, providing scholarship to close to 500 vulnerable children of school-going age within Limbe and neighboring villages of Buea.
The parents are going through a lot of difficulties. I took upon myself as a traditional leader to take this initiative to launch back-to-school campaign to give scholarship. I am giving scholarship for mostly the internally displaced and the orphans.
Some of the parents could not help in expressing their satisfaction.
God's miracle, as we say, this is the way it comes.
It's not really easy to take care of my twins.
It should be noted that thousands of school-going age children within the northwest and southwest region have not been to school for close to 4 years, not just because of the ongoing armed conflict that has closed down so many schools, others partially functioning, but equally due to the hardship caused by the conflict, leaving a good percentage of the population of the northwest and southwest region financially handicapped.
And speaking to Limbe-based correspondent Davidson, Maimo Bishop Michael Bibi urged parents to ensure that their children are not deprived of the right to education, to ensure that their children do not become illiterate tomorrow because of the socio-political and security crisis. He urged the parents to send their children to school October 5th, 2020, despite the unstable and uncertain socio-political and security climate reigning in most parts of the two Anglophone regions. Take a listen to Bishop Michael Bibi.
The Northwest and the Southwest, we have been having this social crisis for almost 4 years, and one of those who have suffered a lot is our children who are not able to go to school. And because of the importance of education all over, where it is possible, we have made sure that our schools remain open, and we think that without education, we cannot be able to bring up our children in a proper way, and that the parents should have the opportunity in order to send their children so that their children should be educated so that they can be responsible citizens in our nation tomorrow. That is why we call on all the parents, we call on all the young people who are not going to school to take the challenge that come 2020-2021 academic year. We should all avail ourselves of the opportunity to be educated.
And language is part of the issues at the center of the armed conflict running on in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon for close to 4 years today. And this is notably because of the bilingual and bicultural nature of the Republic of Cameroon. And experts think that this bilingual and bicultural nature of the country should be a blessing and not a curse. It should be something that should serve in efforts to develop the country. And of course, on this day known as the International Day of Translation, a translator, a specialist in translation and interpretation, spoke to us in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, at Togo. Of course, Adza Atogo is the former president of the Association of Professional Translators and Interpreters of Cameroon, and he is also a former chargé de mission at the National Assembly and also former conference interpreter of the International Criminal Tribunal of Rwanda. Take a listen to him.
A country which has these two languages officially, the ideal would be to use the languages for the profession or the discipline of translation to foster the country and ensure that growth and development is achieved using all the sectors of the country, particularly the two entities, the English-speaking and the French-speaking. That is where translators, interpreters have a key role to play, especially at a time when we are grappling with the Anglophone crisis, which has worsened and has been compounded by other factors that have come to aggravate it, and it's now nearly 5 years and we don't seem to see a solution, at least not from what I see. With the killings and the number of militia on the rampage, we're in a tight situation. And that is where I think that we need all hands on deck. We need everybody who can make a contribution towards solving this problem to come on board. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever contribution you can make, if it is to save one life, it is important. Now, if translators who could assuage the pain of many, francophone or anglophone, who have a difficulty of communicating or have a sense of belonging because they cannot speak in the language in which they feel most comfortable. It's a problem. If I have a sense of belonging, if I feel that I am Cameroonian because I can speak English or French wherever I go to, it would dissipate some of the anger, the pain, the discontentment that is fueling the bitterness and the violence that we're facing today. So my appeal to government would be, where have you kept translators and interpreters? Well, I'm told there's a bilingualism commission. Well, I'm good. But for a bilingualism commission that has not one professional among 15 people, not one seasoned translator among 15 members, not one renowned interpreter among 15 people, you tell me you want to deal with bilingualism? Seriously? Okay, well, someone told me it was a political decision and a political structure to solve the problem. But that it was not even meant to solve the problem. Okay. So what has it become? What has it achieved? No, I think that we live only once. We all love this country. Let us use translators and interpreters to help, even just by one notch, one bit, to bridge the gap between the separating and departing and contesting parties that are anglophones and francophones in this country. We can make a contribution. We are ready to make a contribution. The Association of Professional Translators and Interpreters of Cameroon is ready to work with the Mozambique Commission, with whosoever, just to bring us together. Because
that was Atsa Atogo, former president of the Association of Professional Translators and Interpreters of Cameroon and former International Criminal Tribunal of Rwanda Conference interpreter and presently African Development Bank Consulting interpreter speaking there. On to something else now. We take you to the Boya Kumba Road in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Now we're going to show you the deplorable state of the section of the road passing through Liongo village. Smanjik and Gebre, fires in details.
Women as well as men join hands to push a car. After several minutes, the occupants will succeed to move the car from the spot where it was stuck. But along the line, the exhaust pipe of the car cuts off due to the poor state of the road. This is a part of the road on the Boya Kumba Highway, precisely at Liongo village in Muya, Boya subdivision of the Southwest region. People living from Boya to Ekona, Muyoka and Kumba must slow down at this point, which is degrading each passing day, leaving the drivers in pains. Runoff from rains can't take their normal path because of no drainage, so the water comes back to the road. Apart from the drivers who decry the poor state of the road, the passengers say their suffering is enormous. This is the road leading to Ekona and we are suffering. They have repaired this road but no changes. Maybe it's because there are no drainages. Drivers are forced to check out areas that are dry for their vehicles to easily circulate on the road. The drivers believe throwing of seawalls on this spot will do them much good.
We say make council try to do something for them because you don't trust what will happen. Motornefi waka. If the future can put with solid seawall, plenty make it fine. But we don't suffer.
It was at this very point some days ago that an accident occurred, claiming the lives of more than 6 persons and 17 seriously injured. The Boya-Kumba stretch of road was constructed and inaugurated in 2009 by then Prime Minister Yan Philemon.
Coming up, we'll bring to you an excerpt of a heated debate between U.S. President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. It was the first United States presidential election debate.
The worst part of Obamacare,
sir.
Chris, that was the worst part of Obama.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like you
we will protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Go ahead. You could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no economic recession.
Sir, you made a
there was no recession.
You made a point. Let him answer.
And there was no one. We didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm
prepared
willing
to
do
specifically
that,
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left.
You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
This is a left
FBI director.
This is a left wing
white supremacist.
This is radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
Right, gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid $38 million 1 year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax
1 year.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that.
Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election.
First 2020 United States presidential election debate. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks for staying with us in Talking Points. Today we're receiving a legal mind. Barrister Kambo Alimen is the head of the Kambo Alimen law firm here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Barrister, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Babila. It's always a pleasure.
Today marks exactly 1 year after the major national dialogue which took place from the 30th of September to the 4th of October 2019 with the aim of finding solutions to the Anglophone crisis, restoring peace and normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. 1 year down memory lane, what do you think about what has been done from the recommendation that emerged from that meeting?
Well, I think the situation speaks for itself. It is evident that nothing has actually been done. Majority of what was decided had not been implemented, and we are not surprised by that, because if you're honest, you know that you're really not expecting much from the government. The government has always acted in bad faith, and you don't expect them at this point in time to change and do something better than what they know how to do best.
You said nothing has been done, very little or nothing has been done.
Yes.
The decentralization code promulgated into law by the head of state, the special status that has been gradually implemented with the regional elections coming up, and of course the reconstruction plan, which is already on track. What do you make of all this and all other measures that have been implemented or that are being implemented in those two regions with the aim of restoring peace?
Mr. Babila, the question one should be asking is, have they succeeded in restoring peace in the Anglophone regions? The answer is no. If they have not succeeded in restoring peace, it means that the solutions that they propose, the solutions they are proposing, is not good enough to bring peace in the regions.
The government says it's a process. It's not something that can happen at once. It's a process, and the thing that they are progressing towards that.
What stopped them from doing it at once? If you can do something at once, why do you procrastinate? Why do you drag it? The formula is very simple. They said, let the dialogue be an honest dialogue. Let the government take steps to reduce the suffering of the Anglophone population. Let the government go ahead to release some of the prisoners who are in the prison, and then we can now talk constructively. The government has refused to do that, and the solutions that they propose, we can see for ourselves that it's not working. The situation is even getting worse.
The situation is getting worse, but the Minister of External Relations, Legend Belambela, told the 75th United Nations General Assembly on behalf of the head of state that the situation is under control.
Well, under control negatively, if that's what it means.
Why negatively?
What is under control? Bamenda is still in turmoil. The whole of Northwest, Southwest. So what is under control? There is nothing under control when you cannot guarantee the security of the people living in those regions. So it is a political statement he made, and we should take it and look at it just like a political statement.
And there are operations going on in those two regions, Operation Clean Bamenda, another operation going from one division to the other, tracking down separatist fighters, killing some of them, arresting some of them, and so on. And the military is doing this and saying that we want to restore peace, saying that they are restoring peace. They want to put an end to all the chaotic manifestations of the people's disappointment, anger with the Yaoundé regime.
Mr. Babila, I'm sorry to tell you that the military cannot restore peace. Peace is what comes from the people. And in this situation, I don't think going to track down people, and don't be surprised that there are recorded abuses. And the people have a problem. You know their problem. Just go ahead and solve the problem, instead of going to look for all those who are maybe revendicating your rights. I think the government knows exactly what to do. And the military, it's true that I encourage the fact that the military should provide some security for the inhabitants of those areas. But I think that is just a temporary measure. The government should look for a long-lasting solution to the Anglophone crisis.
The government should look for a long-lasting solution, and the bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province are demanding that one of the immediate actions that government should take is the liberation of all those who have been arrested and detained in connection to that crisis. Do you think that's going to be a step towards the solution?
Yes, Mr. Babila, I think it's a good solution. And the question I'm asking is, the president had released some of the detainees, I think a year or two ago.
Yeah, he has done so twice.
He has done so twice. What stops him from releasing Ayuk, Tabe, and the others, Mancho BPC? What stops him? I think the starting point should be that the government should release those people, and from there, the Anglophones will at least have one of their grievances sorted. So to me, it is imperative that those, in line with what the clergymen are saying, government should think about releasing those people.
All right, let's talk about house arrest.
Yes.
The national president of the CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto, and other leaders of that political party have been under house arrest or in detention for several days today, since the 22nd of September 2020, when some Cameroonians, notably militants and sympathizers or supporters of the CRM political party and its allies, took to the streets in an anti-government protest. What is it, a house arrest?
Well, Mr. Babila, that is a strange word in our law, because I took time to go through the laws to see if there's any provision to that effect. But unfortunately, you know, the Criminal Procedure Code is of general application. It traverses the normal civil courts, military courts, and all those special courts. They use the same Criminal Procedure Code. And believe me, I didn't see anywhere where house arrest is provided. So, to me, there's nothing like house arrest. It's forced imprisonment.
So, what does justifies or explains the fact that since the 22nd of September, for example, soldiers have been deployed, military vehicles around the residence of Professor Maurice Kamto, and he's been unable to go out, his family and his housemates and everybody taken hostage, so to speak.
As I said, that is tantamount to false arrest, false imprisonment, beg your pardon. And what is worrisome about it is they have extended that punishment to innocent people in the house. You know, criminal responsibility is personal. It is geared towards an individual who has committed an offense. When you go and you seal, you imprison everybody in the house. The wife cannot go out, the visitors cannot go out. You think that is not what they call state terrorism. That is state terrorism. And I hope you know that is state terrorism.
What does it tell us, Barrister?
The state, when the state carries out those acts that create fear, panic, fear of imminent death, destruction, it is state terrorism.
Is that what is happening in Cameroon?
Yes, I honestly think that the Cameroon state is practicing state-sponsored terrorism.
Now, when somebody has to be put under what you qualified as forceful detention, what are some of the legal provisions that enable that, or that permit that, or that govern that kind of a decision?
Mr. Babila, nothing legal can stand on illegality to begin with. So if I've told you that it's forced imprisonment, no, it means that it is illegal. It is illegal. Rather, he can bring an action for forced imprisonment, and our laws provide for. So there is no legality in what has been done. You might want to know if it's an arrest, what has to be done. That is different from what I hear people talking of house arrest. If it's an arrest, normally it comes from a judicial authority, right? It could be the magistrate, it could be the bench, the magistrate at the bench, or the state council who could issue a warrant of arrest, yes, or the other warrants. But this warrant must be notify the person in question, or the suspect is informed that there is a pending charge against you and they have ordered your arrest, and then he can now defend himself. But when you come and you just place military outside the house of an individual and you block people from going out, it is terrorism. It is terrorism.
The government authorities say that the case of Professor Maurice Kamto in particular is under examination by competent judicial institutions with regards to the fact that what happened on the 22nd of September is qualified as insurrection.
You cannot arrest somebody before instituting an action. You institute first. So if there was a formal complaint against Maurice Kamto, that could give reasons for an arrest. a warrant to be issued. But when there is no pending matter against him, it beats my imagination as a legal mind that some people should be thinking that he's under house arrest. He's simply under false imprisonment.
All right. Before we go, what do you think can be taken as action or measure that will bring down the political tensions in Cameroon?
Mr. Babila, we all know what should be done. We should have free and fair elections. Our institutions should be credible. Our institutions, unfortunately, are not credible. Elecam is not credible. The Constitutional Council, right, it's one-sided, because if you go by the persons appointed in that council, you see that there's room for them to be biased. And so I just think that Cameroonians, the authority that be, should think about solving the problems of Cameroonians and making Cameroon a better state for everybody. And that will mean that the institutions that are put in place actually serve the purpose for which they are created, rather than maybe trying to please the head of state. They should think about the interests of the population.
Barrister Kamwa Limen, head of the Kamwa Limen law firm, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Mr.
Thanks, dear viewers, for staying with us. That's it for today.